Welcome back to the Hill Update. I'm your host, Dean Allison. Joining me on the show today is John Nader, Member of Parliament for Perth Wellington. So, John, we talked about the cost of living. We've talked actually about the cost of housing. The carbon tax seems to be what is fueling all of these things. I think there's a number, there's two different questions I want to pose to you. We found out this week two different things. First of all, there's two carbon taxes. Both of them are going to affect GDP of the country, which is unbelievable. Because it's not just affecting the cost to individuals, it's actually costing our economy. Would you just weigh in for that very quickly before we go to the other topic I have?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we found and what we've learned now from the government's own figures is that this carbon tax is going to take billions, tens of billions of dollars right out of the economy. This is money that is going nowhere. It's just dampening our economic activity. So that's money that's not contributing to our economy, not being spent in our hometowns and in our communities. It's actually decreasing the economic output of our country and having a huge impact on our business viability here in Canada.
So, it's affecting individuals, and then it's affecting what governments could actually spend for revenue. And that sort of leads into the next point that was, I thought was interesting, that was brought forward. Saskatchewan government did a bit of a study in terms of what it's costing their hospitals. Let's watch this clip quickly, and we'll have a conversation on this as well.
More disinformation from a flailing and desperate Prime Minister clinging to power. I voted in this Parliament to increase health funding, and in the previous government voted to increase it by 70%, more than his government had. More than that, we did not impose a carbon tax on hospitals. He claims that people are going to get checks. 1,900 nurses could lose their jobs because of the carbon tax in one province alone. A phony rebate check will not make the difference. Now he wants to quadruple the tax to 61 cents a litre. How many nurses are going to lose their jobs while hospitals are stuck paying this quadrupling tax?
Okay, so we realize that, cost of living for everyone's gone up. You talked about that. But I think some of the other things we don't understand is how this is affecting small businesses and hospitals. I mean, small businesses don't get any kind of break, and so that cost is borne by them. Why don't you just address that? And then let's talk about what Scott Moe sort of unearthed for us this week in Saskatchewan as it relates to nurses, hospitals, and the cost of running them.
Well, absolutely. So from the small business perspective, there are no rebates for these small businesses on their cost of the carbon tax. So this is a lost cost. It's paid up on top of everything, and it cuts into their bottom lines. So we know that small businesses are as frugal as they come. They do everything they can to keep their costs low, but this is a cost that they have no alternative to, especially in small towns and rural communities where you don't have a lot of alternatives for alternative energy sources. You're stuck with that, and it's a cost to them doing business, to get their product to and from market, and it's a dead cost to them. There's no benefit whatsoever, and it's impacting them in our communities. And these are the folks, these small businesses are the ones that are the first to step up to raise money for the community, to support charitable causes, support sports teams, and they're the ones who are being hit with no benefit whatsoever.
All right, so let's move to hospitals, something maybe people never really considered before, because we talk about the personal costs. Talk about the what was brought forward this week by Saskatchewan.
Yeah, absolutely. So Saskatchewan brought forward, they crunched the numbers and found out that in Saskatchewan alone, 19,000 nurses is the equivalent of the cost of the carbon tax on hospitals. So we all know that our hospitals are doing what they can, but it's tough. It's a tough situation. And so now when you're adding this carbon tax on top of things, that's money that could be going to nurses, to new MRI machines, to medical equipment, to recruiting new PSWs to care for our loved ones when they're in hospitals. But because the government's adding the carbon tax on top of their costs, it's money that's not going elsewhere. And they're on a fixed budget; they get their government funding, but that's where it is. So this is a cost that's not being budgeted into that, and we can apply this kind of across sectors, whether it's hospitals, but it could also apply just as easily to schools and to school bus operators. These are all costs that are being borne on top of it, rather than being taken into account. And there's no rebates for these organizations, so they're being asked once again to have to do more with less. And it's all because the government has decided that they will apply, for ideological reasons, the carbon tax to each and every facet of life in our communities. And that's unacceptable, and it's not good for our economy. It's not good for our healthcare system.
John, thanks for joining us today.